The Galaxy S25 Edge is one of the thinnest phones Samsung has ever made. We've been asking for something different, and I guess thin is how they respond. I have to admit though, once you actually look into it, this thing is kind of impressive. It's like the S25 Plus had a baby with the Ultra, and they fed it Ozempic. Samsung had to make some serious changes to its design to make this possible, but does it bend? What did they sacrifice to get it this thin? And is it still repairable? And there it is, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge. This phone isn't something you'd look at and say, I want that. It's more something you'd feel and say, I want that, because it feels absolutely amazing in my hands. So at 5.8 millimeters thick, this phone is just 0.1 millimeters thinner than the Galaxy A8, which came out in 2015. So obviously, having a phone this thin, people have questions like, does it bend? And today we're gonna find out if it does. So we're just going to apply some gentle pressure. Now this phone has a titanium alloy frame, which means it shouldn't really bend. And now I'm not applying gentle pressure anymore. It does have some give, but it's holding up really well. They actually moved the power button this time around so that it's not as weak, and you can actually tell the difference when you're applying pressure. So this phone is probably not gonna snap in half on you or bend at all, but will the camera rings come off? There's only one, but let's find out. My Jimmy tool doesn't want to slide under at all, but I still want to see if this thing is removable, so we're gonna apply some heat. Now let's see if we have better luck. Oh, slides right under. And we broke the back glass, so don't try that at home. I mean, it does come off with a lot of destruction, so definitely wasn't easy. So it's not something you're gonna experience or encounter without obviously trying to. I'm honestly a little bit speechless. So you guys know me, I'm not usually out to break phones, but the back glass did break, and it's because I wasn't expecting this giant crater right over here. Samsung did things a little bit differently with the Edge. They have the back glass, which is one piece, a crater around the cameras, and then this piece, which basically gives the cameras enough space to exist without making the overall thickness of the phone larger. Let's cook the rest of this and get it open. The S25 Edge is done cooking, and if you're ever removing the back glass on this device, you're going to want to be very careful around the camera bump here, because when you're prying here, you might pry a little too far, and it's definitely a weak point on this device, so you might crack the back glass. We'll pry into the back glass and remove every last shard of glass. A lot more glass than I'm used to. Usually this kind of all hugs together under the vinyl, but things are separating here. And that is the inside of the S25 Edge. Over here we have the 200 megapixel camera, the same camera that's in the S25 Ultra, and over here we have a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and it looks like they're still using Phillips screws everywhere, which is amazing. While we're unscrewing, massive thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. Looking at a phone like the S25 Edge, it's razor thin, precision built, and it makes you think. The amount of design and prototyping that goes into this stuff, well, they likely use the same machines PCBWay uses to help you create your own projects. Whether you're working on your own custom PCB, a flex cable extender for testing, or even designing your own mod like I did, PCBWay has your back. They do way more than just PCBs. I'm talking CNC machines, sheet metal, 3D printing, injection molding, basically every tool you'd need to create your own project, even creating something like this phone if you were really ambitious. Their ordering system is clean, their turnaround is fast, and the quality is legit. I've used them myself before they'd ever sponsored me, and I was very satisfied. So if the precision inside something like the S25 Edge inspires you to build your own tech, definitely check out PCBWay.com, upload your designs, and find your edge. So we just removed the 15-watt wireless charging coil. This is also Qi 2 ready, just like the S25 Ultra. This up here is the earpiece speaker with the rubber gasket, and down here we have the loudspeaker with the vibration motor, all in one piece. Taking a look at the actual phone, we'll go ahead and disconnect all these connectors so we can remove that motherboard. We'll go ahead and disconnect the front camera and remove the motherboard. Take a look at that, and take a look at all that thermal paste. That's a lot. So the motherboard itself seems to be extremely compact. You can see that it is a sandwich board, so there's multiple layers here. And on the back, we obviously have the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip with a 12 gigabytes of RAM. We'll remove the sticker and get a closer look at that. Remove all that thermal paste. And to conserve space, it seems like they've stacked the RAM above of the Snapdragon chip. One thing I do want to see is whether this camera is an exact replica of the S25 Ultra. So we're gonna pull the S25 Ultra camera out and do a little swap. Over here we have the S25 Ultra parts, and up here we have the S25 Edge parts. And if we take this part of the camera module from the S25 Ultra and try and connect it, well, the 200 megapixel camera can't connect, but the 50 megapixel ultra wide camera does actually connect. Whether it works or not, we'll see in a short video, but probably doesn't. Another big thing I noticed is that the S25 Ultra's 200 megapixel camera is significantly larger than the S25 Edge's 200 megapixel camera. And I think what they sacrificed isn't apparent at first, but once you start wiggling this around, you could see the stabilizer is much better than the S25 Edge's stabilizer. This is probably something people would notice after extensive use, but I'm sure people will start talking about this eventually. The boards are also very different. The S25 Ultra board is pretty thick compared to the S25 Edge, despite them both having pretty much the same specs on paper. Putting that aside, there's still a ton of things here that I'm seeing that are different from past S25 models, like the charging port, for example. But we gotta put some of this away before we dive deeper. The front camera is still 12 megapixels, but it does shoot log now. And the battery though, God bless Samsung, I'm so happy about this battery. This is the best battery pull tab design I have ever seen on an iPhone. I mean, Samsung. No heat, no prying, you just, well, technically I'm prying, but you get the point. You just pull up on this. This is just giving the battery a giant hug. There we go. And check that out. The battery is completely unscathed. You can just remove it. The thing is though, this battery is only 3,900 milliamp hours. Now, according to a few reviewers, the battery life on this phone is still pretty good, but 3,900 milliamp hours in 2025 isn't enough. Moving on to the rest of the S25 Edge. So at the bottom here, you could see the daughter board is small. It's really small. We can go ahead and unscrew it, remove the SIM card tray, and here it is. This thing is incredibly thin. The board is super flexible. This also has the SIM card tray attached to it. And there's no charging port, which is nice because the charging port is actually completely modular. And there it is. It comes right out. So you can just replace this on its own without replacing other components. This makes the phone more repairable, and it also makes a USB-C replacement cheaper to do. There's one last thing that makes this phone so special, but to show you, I have to remove the old screen. These are always difficult to remove, and I usually avoid doing it, but this time I have to. Using heat and this jig, and also some alcohol, I can slowly lift up on this display, making sure to not put too much pressure on it. Once we finally have a solid opening, we can move the suction cup over and do the same thing until it finally comes off. Open it up. And that is what makes the S25 Edge so special. Take a look at that copper vapor chamber. It's absolutely massive. Let's remove this graphite film to get a better look at it. I didn't expect to be able to remove it, but we just did. This is the copper vapor chamber that actually makes the S25 Edge run cooler than the S25 Plus despite being thinner. This phone is pretty impressive. For a thin phone, it doesn't really seem like they sacrificed that much. I mean, it has a better cooling system than the S25 Plus. It has a modular USB-C port, which is really nice. Some techs might break the back glass on the way in. I doubt they would after they've watched this video though. And obviously we have some of the camera sacrifices, but all in all, this is a really good phone, and the fact that it doesn't just bend or snap in half instantly is very impressive. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.